What's going on, nation? AJ Riley here with The Corner, a brand new episode reviewing the series from Arizona and previewing the series that's coming up here in San Francisco over the next 2 days. Before we get into that, I do want to remind you to subscribe on our YouTube page for any and all DSN content, and you can also follow The Corner on Twitter at DSN at The Corner for Tigers news, recaps, scorecards, anything that you might need for the Tigers information you can find right there on The Corner's Twitter account. So let's jump right in and let's get to the series win in Arizona, where the Detroit Tigers went down to Chase Field and they won 2 out of 3 games, which we said if they could not do that, then it would be an utter failure. They're not an utter failure because they ended up winning 2 out of 3 games. They took games 1 and 2, went for the sweep on Sunday, and things just did not work out as well as we would have hoped, but they still did get their 6th series win of the season. And it all started in game 1, where the team knocked out 9 hits. Everybody in the lineup except for Jonathan Schoop got a hit on Friday night. Ronnie Garcia went 5 in the 3rd inning, and the bullpen was lights out. Did a fantastic job. The highlight of game 1, Javi Baez and his grand slam that he hit. Shutting up a fan, chirping with a fan, telling him to be quiet. All those things that will grow to love about Javi Baez were on display. Hitting a ball a very far distance from home plate, driving in 4 runs, and ultimately being the difference, as the pitching that night was phenomenal. Ronnie getting into the 6th inning and then the bullpen coming in and shutting the door was exactly the type of tone-setting game that the Tigers needed in this series against Arizona. And then they went Saturday. A late start, 10-10 in the evening, and won that game as well. It was another situation where the Bats just did what the Bats needed to do. They knocked out again 9 hits. And if we look through the box score, everybody except for Jamer and Riley Green and Miguel Cabrera got at least 1 hit in game 2. And it was all predicated the win in the 6th inning. The Tigers were down 3-1 after 4. Then they're tied 3-3 after 5. And then Cody Clemens steps to the plate in the top of the 6th inning with, I believe it was Riley Green, and it was not Riley Green and Torkelson. I forget exactly who was on base. They were on base on Sunday when it happened. But 2 guys on base, they had gotten on, and Cody just goes and demolishes a hanging curveball into the right field seats for his first major league home run. So we want to give him a massive shout out for his first major league home run, and that proved to be the difference because, again, the bullpen comes in the 7th inning and just shuts down Joe Jimenez, Michael Fulmer, Gregory Soto, come in and shut the door on the Arizona Diamondbacks once again, giving the Tigers a series win and the potential for a sweep on Sunday, which did not happen because Bo Brisky only went 3 2/3 innings on Sunday. And it was a back and forth game. Look, the Tigers got out to a 2-0 lead. Then the Arizona Diamondbacks get out or tie the game. Then the Tigers go up 3-2. Then the Diamondbacks go up 5-3. And then the Tigers go up 6-5. And then the Diamondbacks tie at 6-6. And then the floodgates open. The Diamondbacks scored 5 runs in the 6th inning off of Will Vest, which was his worst outing of the season, and he's been really good. But the problem is the length that we're making our bullpen pitch, and ultimately the 8 walks that the Tigers gave up on Sunday. You cannot give 8 free passes to a ball club and expect them to not score runs and them to not score a lot of runs. When you walk guys and you give them first base for free, that's a problem. And it came to be a problem on Sunday where the Tigers ended up losing 11-7. and going out of Arizona, winners of the series, but maybe with a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth. Now, here's some silver lining, because I said if they don't win 2 out of 3, we're just going to stop looking for the silver lining. But they won 2 out of 3, and I'm a man of my word, so we're going to look for silver linings. They collected 26 hits in 3 games. They scored, let me get my numbers here real quick. They scored 18 runs in 3 games, average 6 runs a game. The Tigers are now 26-11 when they score 3 or more runs. So the offense that had been pretty bad, historically bad, we should say, at the beginning of the season and through these first 70-plus games, at least we're starting to see a little bit of life. Now that life we've very often attested it to Riley Green's call-up, and he struggled a little bit in Arizona, but that's going to happen, right? He's going to cool off. He's going to go through moments where he's not getting on base at the rate that he was getting on base the first few games. But the offense showed life. But ultimately, the bullpen got hung out to dry on Sunday. And when you rely on a bullpen too much, as we're going to talk later in the show in the peanut gallery, when you rely on that bullpen too much, you cannot expect them to be historically great when you're taxing them with innings upon innings. But needless to say, the Tigers won 2 out of 3. It was a good series offensively. For the most part, it was a good series defensively, pitching-wise. So the attention now turns to San Francisco, where the Tigers are going to be taking a 2-game series in the Bay Area, heading to a team that is 39-33 and third in the NL West. On Tuesday, Tarik Skubal is going to be facing off against Carlos Rondon. On Wednesday in the afternoon, it's a 3:45 start. Ronnie Garcia is going to be facing off against Alex Wood. That's your pitching matchups. There's a lot to look at when we talk about these pitching matchups. First of all, Skubal's got to rebound. He's had 3 bad starts in a row. It's time for him to make the adjustment. Carlos Rondon is a very good pitcher, someone that should have been in Old English D this season, but alas, he is not. He's pitching for the Giants. He's currently 6-4 with a 2.70 ERA. On Wednesday, Ronnie Garcia has a great outing from Arizona that he can build on against Alex Wood, who has an elevated ERA. Now, hopefully, the Tigers can at least scratch out one of these games, maybe split this 2-game series, and head back to Detroit for their weekend series with the Kansas City Royals. And last week, I gave you a segment in the preview where I said this is what the team that we're facing does well, and this is what the team that we're facing doesn't necessarily do well. And so I want to get into that as we end this segment here. So what do the Giants do? I was looking through the numbers and looking at what they do. They have a pretty good offense. They're 9th in the MLB in total runs scored on the season. They're 8th in the MLB in runs created plus, weighted runs created plus. So when they get on base, they are creating runs. And they're getting on base 10% of the time by walking. So they draw walks, which leaves our pitchers with a catch-22 because you can't flirt with the edges because of their plate discipline. You can't necessarily put the ball right down the middle either because that's never a good strategy. So our pitchers really have to find a way to get them off kilter, throw inside, move their feet, make them uncomfortable. Don't let them barrel the ball up, but make sure that you're living around the plate so hopefully those close pitches get called strikes and not balls, and we don't let them walk 10% of their at-bats. Another thing they do well is, according to Fangraphs, they have one of the best top pitching staff in Major League Baseball. They have currently a FIP of 353, which is pretty decent for an entire staff, and they only strike out opposing hitters about 8% of the time. And looking at their batting average on balls in play, hitters are hitting at a clip of 304 when the ball's put in play against the Giants. So there's definitely an opportunity against their pitching staff to hit the ball like we did in Arizona and make sure that we are creating the runs and not giving them an opportunity to create runs. And here's the reason why that batting average is probably so high is their defense ranks worst in Major League Baseball according to the Fangraphs dashboard. If the ball gets put in play, they're really struggling to convert those into outs. So it's going to be a quick 2-game series. It starts Tuesday night at about 9:45. And it's going to conclude Wednesday afternoon at 3:45. And the goal here for the Tigers, who are not a very good road team this season, the goal for them is to win one of these games. Split. If you could sweep, obviously that's icing on the cake, but you cannot get swept. You cannot, there is no room for error anymore in this season for you to be swept as a baseball team. Which is going to lead me then to my peanut gallery for the week, or my thoughts for the week, and it all stems around our young guns and our pitching. Because recently our pitching has not been great. Our starting pitching has not gotten deep into ball games. Our starting pitching, I think the last time a pitcher went past 6 innings as a starter was when Bo Brisky went 7 innings against the Texas Rangers, which is not great. Because what that is inevitably doing is taxing the bullpen, is creating a situation for the bullpen where there just is not enough stamina and more opportunity for disaster to happen like it happened on Sunday against Arizona. If we look at our big 3 young guns, right, our big 3, Casey Mize being on the shelf with Tommy John, that means Bo Brisky is put into that young gun conversation. Faedo looks like he's getting tired coming off of Tommy John surgery. He had massive control issues, starting even in the first inning against Arizona in Game 2. And it really reared its ugly head in the 4th inning where he just could not find the strike zone and locate. He has 11 1/3 innings pitched over his last 3 starts and has given up 14 runs, Faedo has. In his first 7 starts in the major leagues, he went at least 5 innings pitched and gave up 2 runs or less. So something is going on. And I think part of it is something that I'm going to say for all of these guys is adjustments. The league has adjusted to them. They have to find a way to adjust right back. Because now there's video. Now there's tape on them. Now there's ways for opposing pitchers to learn their tendencies and see what they throw in these counts and what they really like to rely on. For Brisky, it's his changeup. He's got to find a way to make that an effective pitch through adjustments. Let's talk about Brisky. He's begun the descent back to earth too. Though he has still competed in his outings. In June, his first 3 starts, he went 18 2/3 inning pitched and only gave up 2 runs total in those 3 starts. But his last 2 starts, he's only gone 8 2/3 innings and has given up 9 runs. Teams are adjusting. He has a very effective changeup, but he's not adjusting to the point where he can use that changeup effectively for this team. And then we get to Tarek Skubal, who is arguably the best pitcher on our staff, even when fully healthy. A lefty that throws mid to high 90s, has a decent off-speed stuff, but he has struggled with command and location and almost trying to be too fine with his pitches. He started June with back-to-back 7-inning outings with 3 or less runs in each of those outings. And his last 3 outings, he's only gone 13 2/3 innings and has given up 15 runs. So for me, the conclusion is really clear. Adjustments have to be made. We have to find a way to execute a game plan that is maybe a little bit different than what we did when we had success, because clearly the tape on these guys has led teams to adjust. They're finding a way to make these guys throw more pitches, battle, not being put away with 2 strikes. They have to find a way to adjust. They have to find a way to make sure that they are getting to the point with this season that they're taking that next step forward. Because what's ended up happening is it's having a trickle-down effect. When the bullpen has to be called on to get 5, 4 2/3, 4 1/3 innings each game, eventually it's going to wear down. And I told you, and I've told you in the corner, that water's going to find its level with the offense. Okay. But water's also going to recede to its level with the pitching. Specifically the bullpen, specifically if they have to be relied on consistently to get long outings accomplished. For our starters, it should be imperative that they get at least to the 6th inning. If they get to the 6th inning, that gives us, as the Tigers, an opportunity to put our best 3 pitchers in the bullpen out there to win a game. And if the offense is scoring runs and our starting pitchers get to the 6th inning, then Joe Jimenez comes in the 7th, who's been phenomenal this year. Then Michael Fulmer comes in the 8th, who hasn't given up a run in 11 2/3 innings pitched over 12 outings. And then you come in with Gregory Soto, who's probably the less reliable of those 3, but who in Arizona was very dominant. He looked really good commanding that slider, getting the fastball over the plate. If we can get to a point where we are getting at least 6 innings, which is not a tall task for a starting pitcher, or at least it should not be, then that puts us in a good position to win baseball games. But specifically with Alex Faedo, I want to be very clear about something. This is a guy that's coming off of Tommy John surgery. And A.J. Hinch even said, and they talked about it a lot in the broadcast in his start in Arizona, that he seems like he's fatiguing a little bit. Okay. I understand that. He's a young guy. We need to protect him. We need to make sure that he doesn't have a ton of issues moving forward, especially when it comes to arm fatigue. And you can tell that he's already very much on a short leash when it comes to that. Go with the analytic thought, which I know turns some people off a little bit, but do what you do with Daniel Norris. Have Faedo go out and pitch one time through the order and make it a bullpen day. You got Michael Pineda coming back. He should be back relatively soon. So move Ronnie to the day that Faedo would pitch. Let Pineda take Ronnie's day. And just go with an opener scenario to get Faedo the experience, get some innings logged on the arm, but not overextend him. Because if we overextend him, and if he can only give us 4 innings every outing when we're relying on him to give us more, it's going to be problematic. These young guns can be good, and I'm not writing them off. I don't think that Bo Brisky being a late round pick and what he has done in his first stint in the MLB has been fantastic. He just needs to adjust. Faedo's got to find a way to get that command back, and that might mean going to an opener situation. That might mean going to, hey, we need 2 to 3 innings out of you. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. Give me your best pitches for 3 innings. And Scooble's got to find the command. Scooble's got to adjust. He's got to get more around the plate and make his pitches more effective just by adjusting to a league that has clearly adjusted to them, and let them be more effective moving forward for our team. Look, I'm excited about these guys. I think with them, and when Mize comes back, and you got Spencer Turnbull that's eventually coming back, like, the future is bright for this pitching staff, no doubt about that. Alex Lang even in the bullpen. Will Vest in the bullpen. Who knows if we will hold on to or trade some of our bullpen pieces like Soto, like Fulmer, potentially even Joe Jimenez with the trade deadline coming up towards the end of July. It's really going to be interesting to see. I would not hope that they would trade the biggest arms that we have and hopefully keep some of them to build around, like a Joe Jimenez, who we have under control for a few more years. But Fulmer's going to be a free agent. Soto's going to be sought after, so maybe those 2 guys aren't there at the end of the season, and that gives opportunities for an Alex Lang, for Will Vest to step up and to take on a more high leverage role in the bullpen. The defense and the pitching are something right now that, specifically the pitching, that Tiger fans can hang their hats on. And it is exciting, and it does give us hope for the future. Add a few bats, continue the offense to get better as it has been. And you could be looking at some runs. You could be looking at some good baseball being played through the latter half of the season. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not going to be enough. And the season is going to always be considered a failure because of that. But they can at least turn around and give glimmers of hope for what the future could be. And that future starts in San Francisco Tuesday night, against the San Francisco Giants. Skubal against Carlos Rodon. It should be a great game. Hopefully, the Tigers will do everything that they can to make it the best experience for our fans. This has been The Corner. I am AJ Riley. I will see you before the series with the Kansas City Royals for the weekend set that they have at Comerica Park. But until then, as always, go Tigers, and I will catch you next time.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a way.